My name is Monique Tula. I'm the Executive Director of the Harm Reduction Coalition. I've been doing this work for about 25 years now. Working in organizations that stand at the intersection of public health and social justice, primarily in aid service organizations. I started doing direct service in a syringe service program, and then went on to run and grow a syringe service program. Over the years, I've done a little bit of advocacy, a little bit of organizational development, a little bit of grant making, all of which has led me to this moment in time where I'm leading the National Harm Reduction Coalition. I would say what got me started in this work was the HIV/AIDS epidemic. My mother, we're from Los Angeles, and my mother's cohort of friends and colleagues, co-workers who worked with her at Pacific Bell as phone operators. I don't even know if young people know what a phone operator is. But they were mostly queer folks, primarily gay men, Black and brown and white gay men. And in the early 80s, she lost a ton of her friends. So I became aware of HIV when I was still in high school, and I went on to volunteer at an aid service organization and eventually was hired as staff. And that work that imperative to prevent HIV from spreading in very vulnerable communities, young people, people who inject drugs, queer folks, trans folks, sex workers. That's really what has driven me throughout my entire career. And along the way, I realized that outreach and direct service wasn't really my jam. To be honest with you, it was really hard for me to detach from the stuff that was going on, the very traumatic stuff that was going on in people's lives. But I didn't want to separate myself from the work. So I decided to move into management, try and establish some boundaries, and, mental space, I think, to continue contributing to the cause from that standpoint. And then once I moved into management, I realized, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. In terms of what I think should be accomplished in this field, I don't know, that's a really complex question that I could go on for, probably hours. But I think I want to distill it down. So first of all, I'm talking about the harm reduction community and the adjacent HIV community, both of which started out as the same movement, but with slightly different ideologies and focus on priority populations. So what I would say is, look, in this moment in time, it's very clear that racial justice and racial equity, no matter how long we've been, banging the gong, has still not been fully embraced, even by HIV/AIDS and harm reduction organizations. What I do know is that there's a steadfast and growing ecosystem of people who are committed to dismantling systems of racism and remain flexible enough as we're doing that work to adapt to situations as they emerge, as more women and trans folk and queer folk, as more BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, folks are coming into positions of power. There is a notable shift away from heteronormative values. So by that, I mean systems that are rooted in the patriarchy, right? So top-down decision-making, binarism, right? Black and white thinking, capitalism for sure, and white supremacy, right? And what we're seeing, or at least what I'm experiencing, is that we are moving collectively, not just as a, public health and social justice movement, but globally, the world is really moving toward systems that value inclusivity and cooperation, mutual aid, and interrelationship. So, we're moving from a scarcity mindset to a mindset of abundance, because there really is enough for us all. It's just a matter of how resources are distributed. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a photographer, but I think, that's like career-wise. Who I wanted to be in my heart, in the core of my being, my very soul, was Angela Davis. So I am of an age when Angela, I viewed the whole, her whole imprisonment. I watched that whole thing. I watched when she was in court, and I will never forget the indelible, it's like an indelible imprint when that beautiful Black woman walked across the courtroom with her afro bouncing, her big afro bouncing, and her fist in the air. And I thought, wow, who is she? She is me. I am her. Like, I want what she has. My favorite snack is carrots, baby carrots. And anybody who knows me knows that I will go through a bag of baby carrots in like a day, maybe a day and a half. It's a form of pica. I love to crunch on things. Carrots and ice primarily. I know it's weird. I don't know why I'm not orange, because I eat enough carrots to be orange. My hobby is art. I am a low-key artist. I paint, I draw. I like really like working on projects that require very fine motor skills. And I also like interior design. I'm renovating my house right now, and could not be happier when I'm like in Pinterest looking for inspiration and figuring out how to beautify my home. If people want to help, so I would encourage people to help the harm reduction movement and harm reduction coalition in a couple of ways. So first, I would encourage you to read about what harm reduction actually is, what it is and what it isn't. And you can find all of the resources that you could possibly imagine on our website. Don't judge me. Our website is very dated. We're working on it. It'll be launched later this summer. However, the content that's in there is very relevant. So educate yourselves. The second thing that you can do is reach out to your local syringe service program, your local harm reduction program, and ask them what it is that they need. Maybe you can volunteer with them. I'm sure that your donations, your cash donations, would always be welcome. And in this moment in time, I think every syringe service program across the United States is in need of PPEs.